Welcome to the channel. My name is Jodie Knight. You can find me over on eToro. My live portfolio there is going to be linked in the description down below. But other than that, in this video, we're going to talk about the daily chart, the weekly chart, the short and long-term, long-dated options interest. We'll talk a little bit about my price targets, where I'm going to add, where I'm going to trim. As well as that, we'll look at the general market, what data came out, what data is coming out, and if there's any good Tesla news that we're interested in. Let's just jump straight into it. Right, hopping straight into Tesla Daily, we can see we've got Lily helping today, looking very demure, as they would say. But straight on to price action, we can see we're kind of stuck in the volume gap here. Now, that typically doesn't happen. Normally, price moves very quickly through here, but I think it's a little bit indecisive. We do have this kind of historic top here and this gap. So I think a lot of the short-term price action is going to come from the cuts. Cuts should be good for Tesla. It's a very rate-sensitive stock. So if the market's happy with the cuts and JP doesn't say anything horrendous during his comments, then we should be able to close that gap and then get back above that volume shelf there to the kind of 239, 240 range. 240 sounds nice, doesn't it? Let's just go with 240. We do have the measured move here as well to the Fibonacci level at 254. I would expect to hit that at some point later on this year. Well, definitely, if the event next month goes well, we should be well over that. We should be able to break a new high over this July top, which would be lovely. We do have another measured move here at about 295, but that's probably going to hit more at 300. We also have confluence there as well. RSI is kind of neutral. MACDX Plus, it's kind of just holding. I think people are just kind of waiting now to see about cuts and about the FSD situation, what's happening with that. I do like to remind people that I'm not necessarily invested in Tesla for FSD. I'm more focused on energy and the semis. But the FSD play and the bot play are very good options plays for me without having to dabble in the options market. Flow here as well, looking pretty good. Probably going to take a little break there for a little while. So pretty confident about Tesla. We're seeing a lot of big investors start to sell out of their positions based purely on what Tesla's done for the past year. That, for me, is not too much of an issue. I'm not in Tesla for it being a car company. If your opinion of Tesla is that, then it is expensive right now, so you probably should get out. This is purely a speculative play for me, and I can't stress that enough. I'm not trading Tesla like I do any of my other positions. It's kind of standalone. It's my more risky bet. Everything else I'm very, very confident in. I'm either trading it based on fair value, that it's cheap right now. I think Tesla's the only one I hold that I'm considering very expensive if it's going to be just a car company, but it's a good play on the future. Trimming and adding on this one. I didn't realize my microphone was so high I can only see my forehead. Don't really expect to trim much sub 300, where we have this red kind of level, but that would be a pretty nice upside of kind of around 28%, 29. So I'll probably take my first trim around there just to keep from being over. I don't want to be too overweight in Tesla. Other positions I'm happy to let grow over 10% as they move higher. Tesla, I'm probably going to keep around 10% just to reduce risk there, at least until we can see some of these new products hitting the bottom line and we can confirm the growth is coming back and the margins are expanding. Trimming, we talked about adding. I don't really want to add to this unless we drop substantially under 200 again. So we have this massive volume shelf at $173. That I would love to add back down there. That would be perfect, but really anything sub 200 might add a little bit. Would prefer it to be a little bit lower, maybe 190, 180. For the most part, though, I'm happy to hold what I've got, like I've just talked about. It's more going to be the weighting. I want to manage my risk on this one, so that's going to be how I'm going to do it. I want to make sure I've got good exposure if there is a lot of upside, and I want to have accumulated enough shares that if there is a pop and these products do work, that I have a really good base and I can add more to it later on if I want to. It'll be easier to work out a good fair value, a good price range to do those ads when we see what things are going to do. But with Tesla always front running these things, I needed to build a position now in that one. The weekly chart, I've realized I probably need to tidy this up. All my lines are black, so it's a bit confusing which measured move belongs to which actual pattern there. So I'll do that after this video so it's ready for next week. But for the most part, again, we can see we've got really good confluence at this 180 kind of area for a really strong support to the downside. We did bounce very nicely from it last time. I thought the black trend line here would hold, but we did drop beneath it. It wasn't too much of a concern then. There was a lot of confluence of support under there. To the upside, though, it's a little bit more clearer that this 265 area is going to be a little bit sticky. I would expect to see some confirmation of that in the open options interest when we take a look at that. And then this other historical high at 308. Now 300 I think is going to be a bit of a sticking level purely because it's a whole number. So psychologically, a lot of people are going to pick that one out. So that's always something to be aware of. But RSI is kind of neutral here. MACDX Plus, pretty much just holding. Institutions just holding. Retail's washed out. And float's kind of neutral. So both charts kind of looking a little bit more neutral. Again, I think they're just waiting. Rates will be good. We should see some pop if the rate cut, if the sentiment around that is dovish, it should be good. If it's hawkish, then maybe things get a little bit rough. If JP gives a hint that the economy is starting to weaken, then Tesla's probably not going to do too great, is it? But we shall see. Moving on to open options interest for Tesla this week. Well, for the remaining days of this week anyway, we've got that 230 area. That's going to be very strong resistance for us to break above unless we get some good news to drive it. Like we've talked about, it's going to be most likely the Fed that would pop us over that if it's good, but we will be coming back down off that if it is bad. On the bright side, though, there's a lot of price sticking areas below that. A lot of people picking out bearish numbers here, so pretty much every $5 is kind of sticking. So we should be able to hold in this area, I think, if we do get some downside. Let's just take a look next week. The range gets a little bit tighter here. The strongest resistance level does move up again to this kind of 250 area. That does close the gap and then some, which is nice to see. But again, that's going to be a very tough level. There is plenty of support down, so I wouldn't expect us to ever get kind of below 180. Oh my god, I would love for price to get down there. Just to throw that out there. I'm not going to be upset if price falls back down that before the event. I would be a very happy buyer of some additional shares to bolster my position back up to 10% on that one. And the week after, a little bit better. Yeah, probably people at this point trying to front run ready for the event because that would happen during this window, I think. But top side, we're kind of approaching these local highs, so 270, and then a top of kind of 280. I would expect if things go really well, we could pop a lot higher than that and turn those into kind of a support zone, but we'll see. I'm not expecting too great things from Tesla this year. It's really 2025 and 2026 I'm looking at for this one. So short term doesn't really bother me. So let's look at the longer ones. We've got January 2025 first here, when it loads. The range is looking a lot better on that one. But I'm just going to zoom out, see where the high targets are. So we've got high targets of kind of $600, $610. Now there's quite a lot of focus on that area, so quite a lot of bullishness. We still have some to the downside, which would be good support, kind of that 180 range. I'd be shocked if we got back down there, but I would love it. Pushing out to 2026. Price comes down a bit, but the options market isn't showing anything higher. Got some more downside coming in, but still it's a bit of a buckshot, really, isn't it? It looks a bit chaotic. Really, all this tells me is there's a pretty good split of people think Tesla's going to die or Tesla's going to boom. So pick which side you want to be on or don't touch it. Tesla news. Now, I did spend about an hour going through my various feeds to try and find some good Tesla news, but there's a bit of a witch hunt going on right now for Elon. So if there is super exciting Tesla news, it's a bit buried. The main thing that I could find from the 14th, a couple of days ago, was the 100 million cell was produced. Now, that's not game changing, but it is exciting to see the scale in which they're growing. Other than that, though, if you don't follow Herbert Ong on X, you should definitely go check him out. He does a lot of good interviews with people with really good in-depth knowledge of the technology that Tesla uses and of their business and what's happening with that. I think his latest one, they were discussing Tesla making progress on releasing their FSD in Europe and China by Q1 2025. We talk about it a lot in my videos. 2025, 2026 is where we're going to see most of the move. I think Tesla will have some front running. It always does, but it could cool off before we see some of these products and the numbers start to hit the bottom line. It's hard to build models as well. We don't know the prices these things are going to be coming out. We can only kind of best guess, so we don't really know the current fair value if we're going to include some of these in the numbers. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was the compact car. I always forget to talk about it. I'm very excited about that. And normally I'm focusing on energy mainly. I'm quite excited for the semis, but compact car is coming, and I expect them to actually unveil an MPV at some point, a larger vehicle or some kind of more family van style thing. So I'd love to see that at the upcoming event, but we don't know. Obviously, in the picture there, we've got 3 covered cars. One's going to be the Robotaxi, one's a compact, and the other one looks a little bit larger, like some kind of minivan type thing. So that could be a really good kind of segment for them to expand in within the auto umbrella. So very exciting for that one. But yeah, I can't believe I've been forgetting about mentioning that one for a while. Okay, for the macro data yesterday, we didn't have too much. We had the manufacturing index, and it actually came in very strong, which was nice to see for a change. I think if we take a look at that one, we had the first positive read since December 2023, so can't hate that. But if we do zoom out here, I'll zoom out a little bit more so it's easier. So we can see that it's kind of within its range bound areas. We don't typically have super high numbers on this one. And then what else do we have? We have bill auction, boring rubbish. Tuesday, today, got the retail sales data out. That'll be kind of interesting to look at. Want to make sure the consumer's still doing pretty strong on that one. Red Book year over year is probably going to be a little bit interesting as well. Industrial production, not too fussed about looking at that one. We talk about it all the time, but that industry is not the be all and end all of things. It's good to know. It's good if it's strong to help out a little bit. But with manufacturing, it's not. If we just look at this manufacturing production year over year here, we can see it's not typically a strong sector. And if we look out, it just kind of wibbles around between positive and negative all the time. When there's a lot of money, it does kind of pump. People want a lot more goods, that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's just kind of meh there. And that's it for yesterday and today. That's a wrap then. If you like this video, give it a share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next update.